There is a rise in violence in America against Asian Americans, and we are hearing the narrative in the media and from the Democrats and from the left that this is due to Trump and this is due to white supremacy. All of this was given heightened focus recently with the gruesome murder of 8 people in Atlanta. In the massage parlors in Atlanta. 6 of the 8 were Asian American. And a white man, Robert Aaron Long, has been apprehended in connection with these murders. Here is the DA of Multnomah County, Mike Schmidt, laying blame where he thinks blame is due. Listen.
The heinous murders in Atlanta are an unspeakable tragedy. While there's still much we don't know about these murders, we do know this. 6 of the 8 murder victims are Asian American. Attacks on Asian communities are growing nationally. Many of these instances appear to be rooted in hate, including some of the cases being prosecuted by this office. Hate will never have a place in our society.
So there's there's a guy giving you the standard narrative that this episode illustrates a rising tide of hate. And then other people are piling on. Here's Alexander Ocasio-Cortez, a tweet. Dismantling racist anti-Asian violence means standing up to white supremacy. So it's the culprit, white supremacy. And here's an article in The Root. Whiteness is a pandemic. Whiteness itself. And the author talks about the actions of the white supremacist who walked into 3 Atlanta area massage parlors and killed 6 people of Asian descent. Then he goes on to say the former president is to blame, and then this rather chilling ending. White supremacy is a virus that, like other viruses, will not die until there are no bodies left for it to infect, which means the only way to stop it is to locate it, isolate it, extract it, and kill it. So he himself, the author of this article, using the language of extermination, he wants to get rid of whiteness itself. Now, the only problem with this narrative is that when you begin to look closely, the whole thing starts unraveling. So let's begin with Atlanta. This guy, Robert Aaron Long, who is the apparent perpetrator, the alleged perpetrator, his motive, it turns out, is essentially a certain kind of sexual sickness. It has nothing to do, seemingly, and this is not my view, this is the view coming from the cops. The suspect apparently claims that he has a sexual addiction. He hates these massage parlors. So his target wasn't the Asian Americans. He killed, after all, 8 people. He didn't choose the Asians. 6 of the 8 were Asian. The other 2 were not. So it doesn't look like this particular crime has a racial motive. And if you listen carefully to the DA, he didn't say it did either. He quickly jumped from, well, there's much we really don't know. There's been a spate nationally. And now there has been a rise in anti-Asian violence. And the real question is, who, and the real question is why. Now, according to Ted Lieu, Congressman Ted Lieu, it's, quote, the former president, because he used phrases like kung flu and that have essentially targeted the Asian American community. Now, first of all, with regard to Trump himself, Trump said the virus came from China. He didn't say the virus came from Chinatown. Now, I recognize that there might be people who are sort of targeting Asian Americans because they blame them for the virus. I mean, this is absurd. It's absurd because these Chinese people have nothing to do with it. They fled China in many cases. It's the Chinese government that is responsible for the negligence. It's the Chinese government that didn't tell the world that this was happening. It's the Chinese government that sort of lobbied the World Health Organization to suppress information. So not only are the Chinese not to blame, but in some cases the anti-Asian violence doesn't even involve Chinese. It involves people of Asian descent who are not Chinese. It kind of reminds me of what happened after 9/11, where a poor Indian guy, a guy wearing a turban, was targeted and shot by some Yahoo, and he was shot because they thought he's obviously a Muslim. No, he's not a Muslim. Wrong country, wrong religion, wrong everything. Now, all this being said, the FBI has been keeping some pretty good statistics on anti-Asian violence. And when you look at these statistics, first of all, you notice that the anti-Asian violence is occurring not in red America, by the way, it's occurring in blue America. It's occurring in places like New York and San Francisco, not exactly MAGA country. The red states, in fact, FBI data, represent 8% of the hate incidents against Asian Americans. The blue states represent 80%. Now, with regard to the racial issue, are these white supremacists who are doing this? Actually, no. According to the Justice Department, 27.5% of all violent crimes against Asian Americans in 2018 were committed by blacks. That's 50,000 incidents in a single year. There were 43,000 incidents in which Asian victims are suffering at the hands of white people. But think about it. There are 7 times as many whites in this country and yet fewer incidents. That means the blacks are 7 times more likely to commit violence against Asian Americans than whites. Here are some examples. An 84-year-old Thai immigrant was violently attacked in San Francisco. A 91-year-old Asian man was attacked, and 2 other Asian seniors. In Oakland, 2 young men attacked a 71-year-old Asian woman. In New York City, a young man used a box cutter to slash a Filipino immigrant's face. Now, here's the key point. None of these cases involved a white assailant. In fact, in every case, it was a minority, and typically an African American or a black minority who did this. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that the left actually knows this. This whole thing is a concocted narrative to take away from a topic that has worried the left for a long time. It's a very interesting article in Vox, which talks about the history of tension between the black and Asian American communities. So the people at Vox know that the anger toward Asian Americans is coming from the political left and is coming from blacks who blame Asians for coming into black communities, inner cities. Very often they're more successful. They start businesses. Pretty soon they move out into the suburbs. So in other words, Asians are seen as a successful community, and they draw the envy, hatred, and resentment of other communities in America that are less successful. So what does Vox do while acknowledging this? Vox is kind of candid about saying that, listen, the problem is, here I'm going to quote, many of the attacks that have gained widespread attention have featured black assailants, which have threatened to inflame tensions between Asian Americans and blacks. And then in the pure kind of jujitsu move, Vox turns on and says, but the reason that the blacks are angry and the reason that the Asians themselves have to move into black communities and then move out is because of the structures put into place by white supremacy. In other words, the whites did it anyway. They weren't white assailants, but it's sort of the idea that minorities never, by the way, take responsibility for what they do. Minorities are only acted upon. The whites apparently do everything. And even when one minority group attacks another minority group, the whites made them do it. So we're dealing here with a certain kind of demented leftism that is divorced from facts, that is trying to sell us on a false narrative. And my message is, don't fall for it.